Okay. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Briefly, guys, before we move on, there's no such thing as a stupid question or bad question. If a question you feel stupid or embarrassing to one person, it could be a means of enlightenment. Also, we as Muslims believe that one of the most important pieces of the Islamic character is shyness. Shyness is extremely important in a Muslim, except for certain times and places. And from those times and places in which you should not be shy is when it comes to learning. So a person is a very shy and bashful person, that's fine, and that's praiseworthy. However, when it comes to asking a question, you shouldn't be too shy or feel that it's going to be embarrassing or people are going to make fun of me or I should know that or that's common sense. These are general basic ground rules for the Q&A. And as my MC just said, there is no pressure on no one. There's no pressure. There's no hardship. There's no difficulty. There's no bad or embarrassing or stupid question. If I know the answer, I'll try my best in answering it for you. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know and steer you in the direction of someone who does know. So this is just basic ground rules for the Q&A. It's no pressure. It's not to put anyone on the spot or start any debating or arguing or anything like this. Where do the women pray? Why do they pray separately? How do you become an imam? Who leads the woman's prayer? Is it possible to have more than one imam in a mosque? As far as where do women pray, it depends on where those women are. If they're at home, then they pray at home. If a woman is working and she's outside and the prayer come in, she must pray there. If a woman is in the mosque, then she prays in the mosque. So it depends on your location. We as Muslims believe that prayer is mandatory and it is unlawful, is impermissible, and is shameful for a person to neglect the daily prayer or anything unless it's a necessity. Work, school, family, friends, sports, whatever you're doing has to come after prayer. So therefore, we believe as Muslims is that there are 5 daily prayers and they have time slots. The prayer comes in and the prayer goes out and another prayer comes in. So one of those prayers is the prayer that we just made, Salatul Dhuhr. It's called Al-Dhuhr. Al-Dhuhr prayer is the early day prayer, okay, or the noonday prayer. Let's say that the prayer comes in at 1 p.m. And let's say that the time for that prayer goes out at 4 p.m. So you have from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. to make that prayer. So if you're a woman and you're at home, you're going to pray where you are. If you're outside and you're going to the store or the market, you have to manage and prioritize your time. It's 12:30, I'll be done shopping in an hour. It's 1:30, 20 minutes to get back home or to stop at the mosque. You pray where you are. But what you're not allowed to do, man or woman, is to allow 1 p.m. to come and 4 p.m. to come and you didn't pray. That cannot be done unless it is an absolute necessity. And there are rulings for that as well. So therefore, with that being said, women pray where they are based off of the time. A woman could be outside, she could be in her home, she could be at college, she could be at school, or she could be in the mosque. That's where women pray, if that's what you mean by that. As far as if you mean where do they pray in the actual mosque, then that's a different story. That depends on the dynamics of the mosque. There are some mosques in which there's one grand prayer hall. Men and women pray together, men are in the front and women are in the back. And there are other mosques in which there's a wall or a partition and there's a separation between both sexes in the prayer. And that's going to be answered in the other part of the question. Two main reasons. One reason we know of and we think of, and there's another reason that we don't necessarily know of, nor do we think of, or can, nor should we. The reason that we can think of is that there are times in which there has to be segregation between sexes. We believe this as Muslims, not all of the time, but there are certain times in which man and woman should not mix, even if they're related, even if it's husband and wife. There are certain times in which it's best and most proper for these sexes to be separated. And there are reasons behind this, whether it is a concept of other men, other women, or other things that you can think of and come up with. We all know, and I'm going to be real and I'm going to be honest. Hopefully no one becomes upset or mad. We know that in life there are many things which can cause a distraction and lack of focus. There's a reality. And I don't think there's no one who's fair and honest realizes this. Wherever that distraction may be, whether it's money, whether it's the opposite sex, whether it's the same sex, whatever it is. And there are certain times which things need to be separated for a greater purpose and goal. For a greater purpose and a greater goal. So one of those times in which we believe as Muslims, in which the two sexes should be separated, is when it is time to pray. But at the same time, despite them being separated, they are praying in congregation with the men, but not standing directly side by side with a man. That's the reason that we know of. And then there's another reason or other reasons that we don't necessarily know of. And that's the core principle of Islam, and that is submission to the will of God. Submission to His will. And everything that we practice and do and we benefit from, we don't always necessarily have a tangible scientific explanation of. And the same applies to worldly things as well. You may use Bluetooth. Do you know how Bluetooth works? Do you know the specifics of sound and voice? How you can capture sound and send it in a wave? You don't always necessarily know, but you use it, you believe in it, and it allows no doubt you submit to it by having the earpiece in your ear. So certain things in Islam are dogmatic. We believe in it with total blind faith because it is the revelation of our Creator. Things in Islam which we do know the tangible reason and purpose behind. And there's certain issues in which there's a mixture of both. And we say from the wisdom why women do this is that. From the reasons why men are not allowed to do this is that. From the reasons why we don't eat this or why we do that is that. Such as alcohol. Alcohol causes intoxication. Intoxication causes many, many problems in life. So that is a tangible reason why Muslims are not allowed to indulge in alcohol. There are other reasons which some people call dogmatic, in which we as Muslims say we hear, we submit, we obey, and we follow. Are we to understand this? That's in brief. As far as how do you become an imam by being chosen by God to be an imam, learning the religion, and by practicing the religion, and by trying your best to be righteous and pious. And we as Muslims believe that being an imam in the religion is one of the greatest things to achieve. It's to be a spiritual guide and a spiritual leader. Who leads the women's prayer? It depends where the women are praying, like we said. If the women are praying with men, then the man is the imam of both sexes. And if women are praying by themselves, then a woman is allowed to be an imam among the women. Is it possible to have more than one imam in the mosque? Yes. Not only is it possible, but it's very common, in which an imam is sick, or he has to travel, or he oversleeps, or there's another congregation, there isn't enough space, or there's a different time, etc. It depends on the dynamics of that mosque. Are there specific times for prayers or fixed times there? Of course, yes. There are specific times, and those specific times are the 5 daily prayers. The first prayer is called Salatul Fajr. The second is called Salatul Dhuhr. The third is called Salatul Asr. The fourth is called Salatul Maghrib. And the fifth is called Salatul Isha. Fajr is early in the morning before the sun rises. Dhuhr is shortly after noon. Asr is towards the end or the wee part of the day, about 2 or 3 hours after the noon prayer. Maghrib is when the sun sets. And Isha is about an hour and a half after Maghrib. There are reasons and wisdoms behind those times. From those most important wisdoms and reasons is why we eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and desserts. 3 square meals a day. You need nutrition and nourishment in the morning. And an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, your body needs more nutrition, and that's lunch. And then a few hours after that, or 4 hours, depending on your lifestyle and your schedule. Some people only eat 2 meals a day, but the traditional American way, there's time for dinner. But before dinner, I'm a little hungry. I want a snack. And after dinner, I want something sweet. So my body has needs and wants. And we believe that that is more important for the spirit than the soul. You have a need and a want to be connected to your Creator. And you have a need to be connected to your Creator, especially in our modern busy times. And this is a wisdom which isn't specific to Muslims. Many people understand the necessity of slowing down and reconnecting. It was an ancient Chinese philosopher, I won't mention his name. He said normal people should meditate once a day for an hour a day. And really busy people should meditate twice a day for 2 hours a day. How does that make sense now? If a person is more busy, he's busier, how does he have the time and the ability to meditate more and longer? He's basically saying that the more you run about, and the more hustle and bustle you have in life, the more you need to slow down. And the more you need to reconnect yourself to your spirituality. And we as in Islam, as Muslims, believe the ultimate meditation and spirituality is the prayer. In which you stand in front of your Creator and you recite His words, you call out to Him, and you pray, etc. So therefore, there are wisdoms behind the prayers coming in set times, and there are wisdoms behind there being a fixed number of those prayers. As far as extra prayers, voluntary prayers, then it's more time and it's more open for you to pray whenever you wish. There's a morning prayer which is voluntary. There's a night prayer which is voluntary. There are afternoon prayers which are voluntary. But the basic minimum are those 5. Just like a meal. You have to have at least breakfast and dinner. If you want to eat lunch, eat lunch. You want to have a snack in between, you can have a snack in between. And if you want to have dessert, you can have dessert in between, etc. And obviously the people, they're different as well. My grandmother, she never separated between dinner and dessert. Even when we were bad and we didn't listen, we still got dessert. And she believed that dessert has to be a part of dinner. Everyone get the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, it says, why is there separate prayer rooms for men and women? I believe we answered that. What do you say when praying the surah or your personal prayer? You do a combination of both. A combination of both. There is a mandatory part of the prayer in which you have to recite something specific. And there is another part of the prayer in which you are allowed to ask and to supplicate and to invoke Allah, God Almighty, with whatever you want. Oh Allah, allow me to pass this test at school. Oh Allah, allow me to get this new car that I need. Oh Allah, allow my children to have good character and behave well. Oh Allah, allow me to marry this person that I want to marry. Anything which is good and positive of this life and of the hereafter. So there are parts in the prayer in which there is a rule that you have to abide by. And there are parts of the prayer in which you're open to ask and to supplicate and to recite what you want to for whatever reason.
Do you have any more questions?
Let's see. Can a woman be an imam?
Maybe 2 more questions.
Okay.
From the crowd, if anybody has
Perfect.
a hand up.
Perfect. Okay. Question says, can a woman be an imam? The answer is yes and no, or no and yes. If you mean a woman being the head of a congregation of men and women to lead prayers and to do sermons, we say no, that cannot be done. As far as a woman being a scholar and her teaching class, so it's a yes and a no answer. And of course, like every other thing that we have mentioned, there are reasons. Some reasons we know of, some reasons we don't know of, some reasons you may agree and it may make sense to you, other reasons may not be the case. But very important for us never ever to lose focus, and for those guests as well to realize is that Islam is not about choice and opinion. It's about me accepting and believing that I am a servant and I'm a slave. And my purpose in the morning, the afternoon, and at night is to serve my master and to please him. Whether I like it, whether I agree with it or not, that is the kernel of Islam. And the moment we remove that kernel, there's nothing that's left. When it's about what I feel and what I want and what I think and how I think it should be. So this is very important for us to understand this. And this is one of the most basic principles that is a gateway to having a better understanding and comprehension of these issues in Islam. Whether it be eating pork, whether it be why do men have beards, can a man have more than one wife, all of these different issues that are controversial, hairy topics, sticky topics in the media. You can't just go into the topic and miss the core, the kernel, is that it's not based off of what I think and feel. If it was up to me, my wife would take care of me and pay all of my bills. But it's not up to me. And that is not the will of God. The will of God, according to what we believe as Muslims, is that a man is to provide for his wife. And he is to work and sweat and bother himself to provide for his wife. But if it was up to me, I would stay home all day and say, you bring home the bacon. You bring back the money. And it's just an example. I'm trying to make an example of the concept. It's not about what we want and think and feel as Muslims, but it's about submission. About submission. And from the kindness and the mercy of God Almighty is that He has allowed us to understand some of the wisdoms of the rules. Some of the wisdoms. But we must realize what we believe as Muslims is that our minds and our brains, no matter how great we may think they are at best flawed and limited. At best. And at worst, what can happen when a person suffers from mental illness. Okay? So it's very important to understand this, is that the core concept of Islam is submission. And the vessel of that submission is not desire, taste, or culture, but it is authentic revelation. Whether I like it, whether you like it, whether it makes sense to this culture or not. And Allah knows best. Any other question? Sure.
So when I was in the prayer room with the women, it was like there was one little boy in there. Was he in there because he was with his mom, or should he have been with the men? Like, how does that work?
Clear. With regards to a little boy in the women's prayer area, it depends on what you mean by a little boy, how old he is. If he's old enough to understand the differences between men and women, and what women look like and what men look like, it's best for him to be with the men. It's better and it's safer and it's purer for him to be with the men in the congregation. As far as if it's a small little boy, then that's a different story. If it was me personally, if I came to the mosque with my son or my daughter, I would have them with me. I would rather have my little daughter with me or my son with me for them to see and for them to learn and for them to experience it from young age. And also to give the mother a break, because oftentimes women have to look after their children, or women, they feel they're overburdened and husbands just go out and they have freedom. So oftentimes it's very important to allow your wife to have her spirituality. You do you today. You want to spiritually pamper yourself. You pray without children crying. You pray without this child fighting and he took this toy from me and I'll take the kids with me. That way you can focus on your spiritual quest. That's what I would do.